Welcome to Sleepy Stories, the place where stories aren't meant to be finished. It's Arthur here. Tonight, I'll be reading you a relaxing, sleepy story written by Nellie. We have a quiet tale for you, one about a rainy evening and a cosy bookshop tucked away on the corner of a peaceful street. It's the kind of place where time slows down, where the rain outside makes everything feel a little safer, a little more comfortable inside. Before we begin, I want you to get yourself settled. Find the most comfortable position in your bed, the one that lets your whole body relax without any tension. Feel your head sink into your pillow, the way it curves just right to support your neck. Notice the weight of your blankets or sheets against your skin, that gentle pressure that feels so soothing. If there's any part of your body that feels tight or tense, just know that as we progress through this story, those tensions will gradually melt away. Let yourself sink deeper into relaxation with every sentence, every breath. The sound of rain will be with us throughout this evening, a soft patter in the background, reminding you that you're safe and warm right here, right now. The rain has been falling steadily all day, and now, as evening approaches, it shows no signs of letting up. The streets are wet and glistening, reflecting the amber glow of streetlights. The air outside is cool and damp, carrying that particular scent that only comes when rain has been continuous for hours, a clean, earthy smell mingled with hints of wet concrete and damp leaves. But Eleanor doesn't mind the rain at all. In fact, she's been looking forward to an evening like this for quite some time. She's standing outside Meridian Books now, looking up at the storefront. The bookshop sits nestled between a darkened antique shop on one side and a small cafe on the other. The windows of Meridian Books are warm and inviting, glowing softly with the golden light from inside. Through the glass she can see shelves lined with books, comfortable chairs, and the gentle flicker of what looks like candlelight. A small sign in the window reads, "Open until 9 p.m, and Eleanor glances at her watch. It's only 6 o'clock. That gives her 3 full hours. She reaches for the door handle, her fingers slightly damp from the rain. Her umbrella has done a good job keeping most of the weather off her, but there's always that slight bit of moisture that finds its way through, settling on her hair and her coat. The door opens with a soft chime, a small bell attached to the frame that announces her arrival. The sound is gentle, welcoming, not jarring at all. Eleanor steps inside, immediately aware of how much warmer it is here compared to the street outside. The warmth hits her first, a wave of comfort that makes her take a deeper breath. Then comes the smell. It's overwhelming in the most wonderful way, that distinct aroma that only exists in bookshops. There's the papery scent of aged pages, the subtle mustiness of books that have been read and reread, the faint sweetness of the leather bindings on some of the older volumes. Underneath all of that is the aroma of something warm and spiced. Eleanor realises that somewhere in this shop someone has been brewing tea or coffee, and that scent mingles beautifully with the books. She shakes out her umbrella over the small mat by the door, not wanting to drip water on the wooden floors. The umbrella is a deep navy blue, well worn but still functional. She closes it and looks around for somewhere to prop it. There's a small umbrella stand near the entrance, already holding 3 other umbrellas of various colours. She slides hers in among them, noticing how the shop is designed with these thoughtful touches, places for people to put their wet things, to settle in comfortably. The main floor of the bookshop opens up before her. It's larger than it appeared from the street, with high ceilings that make the space feel open and airy despite the abundance of books. The walls are lined with shelves that go from floor to nearly the top of the walls. There's a rolling ladder in one corner that reminds Eleanor of libraries she visited as a child. The shelves are organised, but not in a sterile way. Books are arranged both vertically and in artistic stacks on certain surfaces. There are wooden tables scattered throughout, and on these tables are more books, small signs indicating categories, and occasionally a vase with dried flowers, or a small decorative object. But what draws Eleanor's eye most are the seating areas. There are several comfortable-looking chairs positioned near the windows. They're upholstered in deep jewel tones, emerald green, rich burgundy, a warm navy blue. Each chair has a small side table next to it, just the right size for setting down a cup of tea or a notebook. Some of the chairs have throws draped over them, soft blankets in cream and grey that look absolutely inviting. There are also some overstuffed couches, tucked into alcoves created by the bookshelves, providing more intimate reading nooks. At the far end of the shop, Eleanor can see what appears to be a small cafe counter. Behind it stands a woman with grey streaked hair, pulled back into a neat bun. She's wiping down the counter with a cloth and looks up as Eleanor enters, offering a warm smile. There are a few customers scattered throughout the shop. A man reading quietly in one of the green chairs. An elderly woman browsing the shelves in what appears to be the poetry section. A young couple sitting close together on one of the couches. Eleanor moves further into the shop, letting her eyes adjust fully to the lighting. There are lamps positioned throughout, not bright overhead lights, but rather individual reading lamps, and softer ambient lighting that creates pools of warm illumination. On the wall near the cafe, Eleanor notices a framed sign that reads, "Rainy days are reading days. Complimentary tea or coffee with any purchase." She walks slowly through the shop, trailing her fingers along some of the book spines as she passes. Her coat is still damp, and she becomes aware that she should probably find a place to settle before the moisture soaks any deeper into the fabric. But she's also eager to explore, to see what treasures this shop might hold. She finds herself drawn toward the window, seating toward one of those inviting chairs that promises comfort and solitude. There's a particular chair, an emerald green wingback with scrolled arms, positioned perfectly to look out onto the rain-soaked street. It faces the window at just the right angle, and next to it is the small wooden side table. Eleanor can imagine herself sitting there, a book in her lap, watching the rain fall outside, while remaining cosy and warm inside. She sets her bag down on the chair, and then thinks better of it, lifting it off again. She should probably visit the cafe counter first, get that complimentary tea she's entitled to. The walk to the cafe counter takes her deeper into the shop, past more shelves, past more comfortable nooks. She passes a small section marked rare and collectible, with older, more valuable books displayed carefully behind glass. She passes a shelf devoted entirely to travel guides and fiction set in different parts of the world. There's a section for gardening books, another for cookbooks, a whole corner dedicated to local history and nature guides about the region. By the time she reaches the cafe counter, Eleanor feels like she's taken a small journey through a carefully curated world. The woman behind the counter looks up again and greets her warmly. "Welcome to Meridian. First time visiting us?" she asks. And when Eleanor nods, the woman smiles even more broadly. "Well then, you're in for a treat. Can I get you some tea? We have several kinds brewing. There's a nice chamomile, a strong black tea, or a rooibos blend if you prefer something without caffeine." Eleanor chooses the rooibos, remembering how she loves the slightly sweet, fruity quality of that particular tea. The woman disappears into a back area and returns with a delicate ceramic mug filled with the warm liquid. Steam rises from the top of the cup, carrying with it the aroma of rooibos and what Eleanor thinks might be a hint of vanilla or honey. The mug itself is beautiful, hand-thrown pottery in deep rust tones with a cream-coloured interior. The woman sets it down carefully on the counter. "Take your time exploring," the woman says. "Let me know if you need anything. And if you find a book you'd like to purchase, just bring it up to the counter when you're ready." Eleanor thanks her and carefully lifts the mug, feeling its warmth against her palms. She's already decided on the emerald green chair by the window. That's where she's meant to spend her evening. Walking back toward that chair, Eleanor becomes acutely aware of small details. The wooden floors creak slightly beneath her feet. Not in an annoying way, but in a way that feels authentic and lived in, as though the building itself is settling and breathing. She can hear the soft turn of pages as the man in the green chair turns to the next page of his book. There's the faint sound of pages from the elderly woman's section of the shop as well. The rain outside provides a constant rhythmic backdrop to all of these sounds, the gentle patter against the windows, the occasional heavier rush when the wind gusts. Eleanor finally reaches her chosen chair and settles into it carefully, mindful of the mug of tea still in her hands. The moment she sits down, she understands why this chair is positioned here. The view out the window is perfect. She can see the rain streaming down the glass, the lights of the street below, the wet pavement reflecting everything around it. The chair itself is even more comfortable than it looked. It cradles her body in exactly the right way, providing support for her back, while still allowing her to shift and adjust as needed. She takes a first sip of her tea. It's warm and slightly sweet, with undertones of fruit and a subtle earthiness. It's exactly what she needed. Eleanor settles back into the chair, cradling the mug between her hands, and simply sits for a moment. She's not reading yet. She's not doing anything in particular. She's simply being present in this moment, in this warm, safe space, with the rain outside and the soft glow of the shop around her. After several minutes of quiet contemplation, Eleanor remembers that she came here to read, to lose herself in a book for the evening. But first she needs to find that book. She sets her mug down carefully on the side table, choosing a spot where it won't accidentally get knocked over. Then she stands and begins to wander through the shop, looking for a book that calls to her. She's not entirely sure what she's looking for. She wants something that feels right for this evening, something that matches the mood of the rain outside and the coziness inside. She passes the fiction section, running her eyes over titles and authors. Some appeal to her, but nothing quite jumps out as the perfect choice. She moves toward the non-fiction areas, travel, nature, history, but again, nothing seems to be calling to her specifically. It's in a corner near the back of the shop that Eleanor finds herself standing in front of a small section labelled Comfort Reads. There are perhaps 40 or 50 books here, all arranged with care. The selection is eclectic. Some classic novels, some contemporary fiction, a few memoirs, a couple of short story collections. There's a small wooden sign in the middle of the display that reads, "The kinds of books that wrap around you like a warm blanket. Perfect for rainy evenings and quiet mornings." Eleanor spends several minutes examining the books in this section. She picks up a few, reading the back covers and the opening paragraphs. Finally, her hand settles on a novel with a simple cover, an illustrated image of a cottage surrounded by flowers. The title is The Cottage at the Edge of Forever, and the author is someone Eleanor has never heard of before. But when she reads the back cover description about a woman who inherits a mysterious cottage by the sea and slowly discovers the magic within it, something within Eleanor knows this is the book she needs tonight. She pulls it from the shelf and holds it for a moment, feeling its weight in her hands. The pages have a slightly aged quality, suggesting this is an older edition, well loved and passed through the hands of many readers. She notices there are some gentle markings in the margins, passages someone has underlined, small notes in the corners. Instead of feeling used, the book feels cherished, like it's been waiting for the right reader at the right moment. With her book selected, Eleanor makes her way back to her chair. She settles in again, retrieving her mug of tea from the side table. The tea has cooled slightly, but is still perfectly drinkable. She takes another sip and then opens the book, reading the title page and the dedication. The dedication reads, "For all those who seek refuge in stories and find home in words," and Eleanor feels a small flutter of recognition. Yes, this book was definitely meant for her tonight. Eleanor opens to the first chapter and begins to read. The prose is immediately engaging, painting vivid pictures of the coastal landscape surrounding the cottage. She can almost feel the ocean breeze and see the wildflowers swaying in the wind. She reads slowly, allowing herself to sink into the world of the book, aware of the cup of tea cooling in her hands, the comfortable chair supporting her body, the sound of rain outside the window, and the soft ambience of the bookshop surrounding her. Time seems to move differently in here. Eleanor is not particularly aware of how much time has passed as she reads and sips her tea. The shop remains quiet around her, with only the occasional sound of someone moving through the shelves, or the soft clink of a mug being set down. The woman at the cafe counter has put on some soft music, something instrumental and gentle, almost like background meditation music, that adds another layer of comfort to the atmosphere. Eleanor becomes aware gradually of a feeling of deep contentment settling into her chest. There's nowhere else she needs to be. There's nothing else she needs to do. This is exactly where she's meant to be on this rainy evening. Warm and dry and enveloped in stories, with a good book and a cup of tea, and the gentle sound of rain providing a soothing rhythm to the world outside. At some point, she's not entirely sure when, Eleanor finishes her tea. The mug is empty, except for a small amount of cooling liquid at the bottom. She doesn't move to refill it just yet. Instead, she remains in her chair, continuing to read, allowing the words on the page to weave themselves into her consciousness. The cottage at the edge of forever is beginning to reveal its secrets, and Eleanor is fully invested in discovering them alongside the book's protagonist. The rain continues to fall outside, steady and continuous. Every so often, Eleanor glances up from her book and looks out at the street below. The sidewalk is empty now. It's evening, and the weather has kept most people indoors. The streetlights create pools of amber illumination on the wet pavement, and the rain passes through these pools of light, creating a shimmering effect that Eleanor finds mesmerising. She watches for a moment, then returns her attention to her book, but she's aware of that beautiful play of light and water, that visual symphony created by the weather and the urban landscape. The hours pass quietly and contentedly. Eleanor reads on, becoming more and more absorbed in the world of the cottage and the woman who lives there. She finds herself emotionally invested in the character's journey, turning pages with anticipation to see what happens next. The prose wraps around her like the soft throw blankets draped over the other chairs. She loses track of time in the most wonderful way, the kind of forgetting that only happens when you're completely absorbed in another world. Every so often she becomes aware of the other people in the shop. The elderly woman is still browsing the shelves, though she's moved to a different section. The couple on the couch has moved to one of the chairs. A new customer has arrived, shaking rainwater from a red umbrella and adding it to the collection by the door. These moments of awareness feel like gentle surfacings from deep water, brief glimpses of the physical world before she sinks back into the story. The bookshop feels like its own little world tonight, separate from the rain and the darkness outside. It's a sanctuary, a space designed specifically for people who need to find refuge and comfort. Eleanor feels grateful for its existence, grateful for the woman at the cafe counter who welcomed her so warmly, grateful for the book in her hands and the chair that cradles her body and the rain that's creating such a perfect evening. She turns another page and the story continues to unfold before her, carrying her deeper into the world of the cottage and the secrets it holds. Outside, the rain shows no signs of stopping, steady and relentless against the windows. But inside, there's nothing but warmth and comfort, and the gentle turning of pages, the soft whisper of paper beneath her fingers. She turns another page, and the story continues to unfold before her, carrying her deeper into the world of the cottage and the secrets it holds. Outside, the rain shows no signs of stopping, steady and relentless against the windows. But inside, there's nothing but warmth and comfort and the gentle turning of pages, the soft whisper of paper beneath her fingers. The evening deepens around Eleanor as the minutes stretch into what feels like hours, though time has become almost meaningless in this space. The bookshop seems to hold time differently than the outside world does. Here an hour might pass as easily as a few minutes, or a few minutes might expand to feel like an entire evening. She's lost track entirely, and that's exactly the way she wants it. Her book has pulled her in so completely that the outside world, the rain, the street, the city beyond these walls, feels like something happening in a dream she had long ago. The coffee shop area has grown quieter. The woman who is behind the counter is now restocking books on one of the shelves, moving with a practiced efficiency that suggests she's done this many times before. She handles each book with care, adjusting them so they sit perfectly aligned with their neighbours. Eleanor watches for just a moment before returning to her reading, but there's something comforting about knowing there are other people here, that she's not entirely alone, even though she's been in her own world for so long. The couple who was sitting on the couch has left at some point. Eleanor didn't notice when they went, but their space is now empty, and the blanket that was draped over the arm of the couch has been folded neatly and placed on the cushion. The man who was reading in the green chair is still there, though he's moved to a different book. Eleanor noticed him flip closed the volume he was reading earlier and return it to one of the shelves, then pull down a new one. He seems to be someone who comes to the bookshop regularly, moving through it with the comfortable familiarity of someone in their own living room. There's something beautiful about this, Eleanor thinks, the way people can inhabit these shared spaces, each in their own private world, yet all together in this sanctuary, created by books and tea and the sound of rain. Eleanor has nearly finished her book now. She's aware of the bittersweet quality of approaching the end, fewer and fewer pages remaining. The cottage's secrets have largely been revealed, and the main character has found peace accepting that not everything needs full understanding. Eleanor finds this deeply comforting. She reads more slowly now, deliberately, not wanting to rush through the final chapters. Another customer has entered the bookshop at some point, a woman about Eleanor's age, perhaps a bit older, who shook water from her coat and added her umbrella to the collection by the door. She moved through the shop with purpose, heading straight for a particular shelf, pulling down several volumes and then settling into one of the burgundy chairs with a stack of books beside her. She's been there for a while now, reading through them one by one, occasionally jotting notes in a small notebook. There's an intensity to her concentration that Eleanor recognises. It's the intensity of someone who's searching for something specific, not just reading for pleasure, but for knowledge or answers. Eleanor wonders what has brought this woman here on such a rainy evening. Is she seeking something, finding refuge, or simply wanting to spend an evening surrounded by books and warmth? The bookshop serves different purposes for different people. For Eleanor, it's become a sanctuary where she can lose herself in stories and find herself more deeply at once. The music that's playing in the background has changed. It's still instrumental and gentle, but now it's something with a slightly different tempo, a rhythm that Eleanor finds herself becoming more aware of. It's lullaby-like, with repeating patterns that lull her deeper into a state of relaxation. She doesn't know the name of the piece, but it seems perfectly chosen for this moment, for this deepening evening in a bookshop filled with quiet readers and the persistent sound of rain. Eleanor looks up from her book and out the window. It's fully dark now, the sky having moved entirely into night. The street lights create an amber glow on the wet pavement. The rain is still steady and continuous. From inside, Eleanor can watch it like a film, something happening on a screen, separate from her, not reaching her. She's safe behind the glass, warm in her chair, with nowhere in the world she needs to be. She returns to her reading, but drowsiness creeps in at the edges of her awareness. Her eyelids grow heavier. She's not tired in a way that makes her want to leave. She doesn't want to return to the rain-soaked streets, but rather there's peaceful heaviness settling over her, like after a good meal or a long day of ease. Her body relaxes deeply into the chair, sinking further with each breath. The pages continue to turn, though Eleanor is not entirely sure she's registering every word anymore. The story is still beautiful, still compelling, but her reading is now more about the rhythm of words than precise meaning. Her mind floats between the world of the book and the space between waking and sleeping. She's aware of the rain outside, her cold mug on the side table, the soft lamp casting gentle glow. But she's also becoming unaware, drifting into comfortable haze when everything is just right and all needs are met. The elderly woman who was browsing the poetry section earlier has left at some point, and Eleanor only notices her absence when she realises she hasn't heard the soft turning of pages from that direction in quite a while. The shop is becoming quieter, emptier. It's getting later in the evening, moving toward that time when most people have headed home. When the streets outside are becoming quieter, when the night is fully settling in. Eleanor wonders idly what time it is, but she doesn't check her watch. Time has lost its meaning here, and that's exactly as it should be. Her book is ending. Eleanor is on the second to last chapter now. The cottage's story is wrapping up in a way that feels inevitable and right. The main character has come to accept her life in this strange place, has found happiness in the simplicity of each day, and has let go of the need to understand everything. There's a wisdom to it that Eleanor feels deeply, even as she's becoming drowsy. The words wash over her like warm water, gentle and soothing, carrying her towards some peaceful shore. The woman who works at the bookshop has turned down some of the lights now. Not all of them, but the brighter overhead lights have been switched off, leaving only the individual reading lamps and the soft ambient lighting throughout the shop. It makes everything feel even more intimate, even more like a private world. The shadows are deeper in the corners now, and the pools of warm light from the lamps feel even more inviting. Eleanor's corner feels cocooned in a sphere of golden light, everything outside of that sphere fading into comfortable darkness. She yawns deeply, the kind of yawn that comes from very deep within, and she doesn't even try to stifle it. There's no one to disturb, No need to maintain any kind of composure. She's simply here, reading, in her comfortable chair, in this sanctuary. The yawn leaves her feeling even more relaxed, if that's possible. Her shoulders have dropped completely. Her neck is supported perfectly by the chair. Her legs are curled slightly beneath her in the most comfortable position. Everything about her body right now is in a state of deep relaxation. The man who is reading is gathering his books now, preparing to leave. Eleanor watches him move to the counter, where he purchases one of the volumes he's been reading. The woman at the counter wraps it for him in brown paper and string, and they exchange a few words that Eleanor can't quite hear, but their tone is warm and friendly. It's clear this man is a regular here, that the woman knows him. He heads toward the door, collects his umbrella from the stand, and steps out into the rain. The door chimes softly as he leaves, and then the bookshop feels even quieter, even more peaceful. Now it's just Eleanor, the woman from the bookshop who's rearranging things slightly, and the other woman reading in the burgundy chair. The shop has become a very intimate space, a place where only a few people remain as the evening moves deeper into night. Eleanor turns to the final chapter of her book, knowing now that she's approaching the very end of this journey. Part of her wants to slow down even more, to make this final chapter last as long as possible, but the story has its own momentum, and she allows herself to be carried along with it. The final chapter is short, just a handful of pages. Eleanor reads it slowly, savouring each sentence. The cottage's story reaches its quiet conclusion. The main character sits in her garden as the sun sets, at peace with her life and her choices. There's beauty in the simplicity of it, in the way the book ends not with fanfare, but with a gentle fading into stillness. Eleanor reaches the very last line, a simple, perfect sentence that seems to contain all the wisdom and peace of the entire story. She reads it once, she reads it again, and then she closes the book gently, reverently, the way you'd close a precious thing you're setting away to preserve it. For several moments, Eleanor sits with the closed book in her lap, her eyes still on it, her mind still within the world of the cottage. She's not ready to leave the story just yet, not ready to return fully to the present moment. She wants to sit for a while, in the space between finishing a book and returning to regular life. That liminal space where you're still a little bit in another world. The rain continues to patter against the windows. The soft music is still playing. The bookshop still exists as a warm, safe cocoon around her. And Eleanor remains, suspended in this perfect moment, not quite ready to move. Inside the bookshop now, the world has become almost dreamlike. Eleanor's awareness of her surroundings has softened considerably. Time is moving differently here. She couldn't say if 5 minutes have passed since she closed her book, or if it's been longer. The distinction doesn't matter anymore. She's somewhere between waking and sleeping, and it's the most peaceful place she's ever been. Her eyelids are heavy now, so heavy that keeping them open takes a conscious effort. She's not fighting it anymore. The relaxation has won completely, and she's allowed herself to sink into it fully. The woman who was reading in the burgundy chair is gathering her books now. She's checking her watch, seeming surprised by the time, and she begins to pack her things. Eleanor watches her in a dreamy sort of way, aware but not quite engaged with what's happening. The woman collects her belongings and heads to the counter to check out. She purchases a couple of the books she was reading and a package of tea from a small selection the bookshop sells. Then she heads to the door, retrieves her umbrella, exchanges a few warm words with the woman at the counter, and steps out into the rain. Now Eleanor is nearly alone. There's still the woman working at the bookshop, restocking and tidying, moving with the quiet efficiency of someone closing up for the night. But Eleanor feels like the only customer left, the only person still settled in one of the comfortable chairs. She should probably leave soon, she thinks distantly. She should head home before it gets too late. But the thought floats away almost immediately. Right now, she's exactly where she needs to be. Right now, there's nowhere else she would rather be than here in this bookshop, in this chair, in this perfect pocket of peace and safety. Eleanor's eyes are so heavy now. She's been reading for hours and she's so relaxed, and the rain is so soothing, and the chair is so comfortable. Her book is closed on her lap, and she's not sure if she's going to read anything else tonight. She might just sit here, she thinks. She might just sit here in the quiet and watch the rain and let herself drift further and further into this peaceful state. Her eyes close for a moment, and she almost doesn't open them again. It would be so easy to simply slip away into sleep right here, in this perfect chair, in this perfect room. But she does open her eyes gently, and she looks around the bookshop. It's nearly closing time, she realises. The clock on the wall shows it's getting close to 9 o'clock, when the bookshop closes for the evening. She should gather her things. She should think about heading out into the rain, returning to her life outside these walls. But for just a moment longer, she stays exactly where she is, wanting to hold on to this feeling, this sense of complete peace and safety, for as long as possible. The woman at the counter has dimmed the lights even further. She's not being unkind about closing time. There's nothing about her energy that suggests she wants Eleanor to leave immediately. Instead, there's something gentle about the way she's winding down the evening, transitioning the shop from an active reading space to a place that's preparing to rest. Eleanor appreciates this kindness, this understanding that sometimes you need a few more minutes to make the transition back to the outside world. Eleanor reaches for her mug of tea on the side table, forgetting for a moment that it's been there for a long time now, and is certainly cold. She takes a sip anyway, and finds that it's been cooled to room temperature, but it's still pleasant, and still comforting in its way. She sets it back down and takes a deep breath. Outside, the rain continues, steady and eternal. The windows of the bookshop are steamed slightly, from the warmth inside contrasting with the cool air outside, creating a cosy barrier between Eleanor and the night. She gathers her belongings slowly, reluctantly, her book, which she holds carefully, as though it might disappear if she's not gentle with it, her bag. She stands on slightly unsteady legs, feeling the full weight of the evening's relaxation in her body. She walks to the counter where the woman is now working on final tasks for the night. Eleanor approaches with her book, and the woman looks up with a warm smile. "Did you find everything you were looking for?" she asks, and Eleanor nods, unable to quite articulate how perfectly this evening has been exactly what she needed. The woman rings up the book, and Eleanor purchases it, wanting to own this story, wanting to keep this piece of the evening with her. The brown paper and string come out again, and the book is wrapped carefully. Eleanor carries it out toward the umbrella stand, where her navy blue umbrella is waiting. She retrieves it and holds it under her arm for a moment, before stepping toward the door. She pauses there, looking back at the warm, golden interior of the bookshop one more time. The woman at the counter waves, and Eleanor waves back. Then she opens the door, feeling the cool, damp air of the rainy evening wash over her like a gentle shock. The rain is softer now, or perhaps Eleanor is simply more aware now of how it's gentler than it was earlier in the evening. She opens her umbrella and steps out onto the wet pavement. The walk home stretches before her, quiet streets, the sound of rain, the warmth of the bookshop fading behind her, but still somehow present inside her, like something she's taken with her. The city around Eleanor is quiet now, that late evening quiet where most people have retreated indoors. The street lights create their amber pools on the pavement, and the rain falls through them, creating that shimmering effect that Eleanor noticed earlier. She walks slowly, not in any hurry, still in the dreamy state the bookshop created. Her body is heavy with relaxation, but it's a good heaviness, the kind that will carry her right into sleep once she gets home. Her footsteps are the only sound besides the rain, a soft tapping on the wet pavement. She passes dark storefronts and quiet restaurants. A few cars move slowly down the streets, their headlights creating gentle halos in the mist. But mostly it's just Eleanor, the rain, the night, and the peace that she's carrying with her from the bookshop. By the time she reaches her apartment building, Eleanor feels as though she's been dreaming. The walk home has been part of the same beautiful experience as the evening at the bookshop. The rain has accompanied her, the city has been quiet and gentle around her, and she's been suspended in this state of perfect peace. She climbs the stairs to her apartment, her footsteps echoing softly in the quiet building. She unlocks her door and steps inside, still carrying the warmth and safety of the bookshop with her. Inside her apartment, Eleanor sets down her wrapped book and her umbrella. She moves through her evening routine as if in a trance, removing her damp coat, brewing one last cup of tea, preparing for bed. Everything feels slow and gentle and perfect. Her bed welcomes her like an old friend. She settles under the covers, and as she does, she's still half in the bookshop, still in that comfortable chair, still hearing the soft music and the gentle patter of rain against the windows. As Eleanor drifts off to sleep, she can almost still hear the bookshop around her, the quiet turning of pages, the hum of the soft music, the endless sound of the rain. Her dreams are filled with the cottage at the edge of forever, with warm tea and comfortable chairs, and the knowledge that there are places in this world designed specifically for people to find peace and safety. The rain continues outside her window, and Eleanor sleeps deeply, knowing that tomorrow, if she needs it, the bookshop will be there again, waiting for her return, ready to welcome her back into its warm and welcoming space.